Thomas Mahan is one of the best tailors in the world. In his time, he's measured the inside leg of some very important people. With clients among the rich and famous, and over 15 years' experience working on Savile Row, it's remarkable that much of Tom's work is tailor-made in Cumbria. It's Monday morning, and Tom arrives at his workshop in Warwick Hall near Carlisle. And as usual, he's off to a busy start.
Morning, Jen. We always are busy, but there's time constraints on at the moment. Not an ideal way to start on Monday, but there you go. Worst problems to have, I suppose. High-profile clients, I suppose we have. We don't advertise it for obvious reasons, because that's why they come to us. We generally don't sort of say the names. The obvious one that people always say about is Prince Charles, which was unavoidable to say that I worked for him because there was a great big royal warrant on the wall, so it was kind of obvious. That was a lot of fun, going down to Highgrove and having tea and homegrown organic biscuits or whatever from the estate there with the boys. He was lovely. I mean, sometimes you'd see him and he'd be a bit grumpy, but I was maybe a bit grumpy as well, so there was two of us that were grumpy. But he was just very pleasant and very normal. The security involved with the prince and everything is really quite interesting. I mean, again, it's a very Savile Row, it's a very English thing. It's all quite low key, but you know, my sort of boss took me to the side and said, "Now look," he said, "because you're going to be cutting for the prince, they're going to want to know certain things about you." So I started to panic, thinking about when I was done by the village policeman for stealing apples in 1975 or something, thinking this was going to come up on the crime record. The thing is, because of the nature of what I do, it's extremely personal. I mean, there's lots of people meet Prince Charles, but there's not many people meet him in his underwear. There's a big fancy parcel here, and it's come from America. This mail. Priority mail. Now, this is a chap whose suit we made for him, and he was delighted, and he came in wearing it. And I basically wasn't happy with it. So I said I want it back, but he didn't have any clothes apart from the one he was standing up in. So he said he'd send it to me rather than give it to me, which is fair enough. It doesn't look bad, considering it's just, you know, just travelled 3,500 miles. Oh, you'll definitely be there. That's nice.
It looks fantastic and it fits wonderfully.
Is that blue or is that grey? The cost of a bespoke suit, I charge starting at £2,000 plus the VAT for a two-piece suit. So they're quite an investment, and the people that we make for, they see them as that, and they don't actually sort of come to us like a client, but they more seem to see us as their commission work. That's what they do. One of our most vital pieces of technology. Very sharp chalk, as you can imagine. When we're here at the hall, it's a lot more relaxed. So, you know, I'm just in a casual jacket and such like. In Savile Row, of course, we're always in a suit, without a doubt. I generally wear a three-piece suit when I'm in London. And it's generally pretty dark, you know. I've got a brown jacket on now, but a gentleman never wears brown in town.
Heading for the station with a pack on my back. I'm tired of transportation in the back of a hack.
I grew up in Corby Hill, which is 4 miles out of Carlisle. I went to school at White House in Brampton. I ended up getting a summer job, and it was with Redmayne's, which is a local tailor's. And I just had the time of my life.
After cutting his teeth in Cumbria, Tom moved to London, where he began work on Savile Row. He still travels there twice a month to see his important clients.
When you've got worries, all the noise and the hurry seems to help, I know. downtown. Just listen to the music of the traffic in the city. Linger on the sidewalk where the neon signs are pretty. How can you lose? The lights are much brighter.
Well, here's the world famous Savile Row. Keeves and Hawkes, number 1. The old, very well known for its connections with the Navy in particular, and the military. Quite a big shop there, do an awful lot of ready-to-wears and such like that. Got all the workshops underneath. If you look through the windows, you'll see everybody busying away, doing all sorts. This is an interesting building. For what it's worth, the last concert by the Beatles was performed here, because that used to be Apple Records, and it was done on the top. Get Back, if you remember. I won't sing it to you. Well, I definitely feel at home here, that's for sure. Although it's changed an awful lot. It's about 20 odd years ago, and I was offered my first job here, which was with Kilgowers. It really has changed a lot. Predominantly, we've got a lot more of the designer type, high street people on the other side of the street, which is not so good, really. We're not even sure if they can sew a button on. An awful lot of the things get made abroad, but that's another story. But this side of the street is a lot more traditional. Morning, Malcolm. This is Malcolm Plews, who has been a good pal of mine here for, I don't know, 20 years
20,
or something.
It must be 20.
Yeah, easy years. And Malcolm's always been the most dashing of men on Savile Row.
Yeah.
Makes for all the cool people. Very nice little low-key shop. Making for a pretty famous football player at the moment. What's his name?
Mr. Beckham.
Mr. Beckham. That's right. Yeah, I keep forgetting. I can't.
Yeah, no, David Beckham did come here with Victoria. Was measured up. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get back here for the fitting. We had to go to a hotel and fit him. They were a very, very nice, chatty couple. I was quite amazed at how, easygoing they were, really.
And he's just got time to catch up with an old friend.
This is Mr. John Reed, who's well known in Savile Row, to say the least, and has been here for quite a few years now.
46 I started.
1946, there you go.
Yeah, well, it's about 60 years, yeah.
He's getting the hang of it.
Slowly. when I first came in, the whole of this area was full of shops. You could say it's been reduced down to perhaps a quarter, might be even generous. Because the Tailors Forum was the pub. So all these little shops, it's not like being a big factory. The chaps go and meet in the pub. Oh, the cutters go and meet there. They talk to the sailors in the pub. I can see them now. They used to tip their finger in the beer. So you've got to straighten the coat. That is had a bit on there, and take a bit off there, and explain to you all the alteration. And so one will tell you one thing, and another one will tell you another thing, and you get these ideas and jumble them up together, and in the end you come out with maybe a satisfactory answer.
Tom is